episode 17/18. And we've got an awesome guest. We've got Dr. J. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You look a lot whiter, Dr. Dre.
No.
J. Oh, J. Okay,
like the letter
sorry.
J.
Yeah.
He's a bad person.
But that's even, I mean, Dr. J's an athlete, right? Basketball player?
Well, I bought his website from him. Julius Irving is fishing now. Like he's retired.
He's done.
So yeah. So yeah, my website is Dr. J, DOCTOR, the letter J.com.
Did you actually buy it from him?
Yeah.
How much?
I don't remember.
Oh, that's a
I
flex.
just told my employees to make it happen.
Yeah. But then you also have a band, right? It's like a resistance band. And this is like it's the X3, right? This is the...
Well, it's a system that comes with a set of bands. But the band, one of the challenges with band training is that, like, let's say you just, like, there's a couple of companies out there that just sell like a bag of exercise bands.
Yeah.
And the problem is, like, if you're doing a bicep curl, like the tension will be high where you're contracting the muscle the most, but then as you go down, the tension can go to zero. And you don't want that. You want to load the lengthened position. So you got to have, where the muscle's long is, you want to still have load on it that's significant enough that you can exhaust. So what happens is, like probably the chest press is easier to demonstrate. I can do however many reps I can do. So I'm holding 550 pounds at the top, but as I lower it, at the halfway point, it's 300, and at the bottom point, it's closer to 200. So I do however many repetitions I can do until the maximum amount of fibers are exhausted at that peak position. And then I shorten the range and I do what's called lengthened partials. So where the pectoral is stretched, I'm loading just in that range of motion. And so going to fatigue first in the strong range of motion is best for strength. Going to fatigue second in that weaker range of motion is what's best for growth. So we're getting like the absolute ultimate muscular stimulus.
And what led you, we want to go into the origin story and all that, but what led you to develop this program? Because I know you had that book that came out.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that fuels everybody who's mad at me. Where I wrote the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. I was one of the probably 99% of people that went to a gym year after year and basically looked no different. And also noticing other people, most people who are even workout fanatics. Sort of the joke about CrossFit is the reason CrossFitters never shut up about CrossFit is you'd never know they work out unless they started talking about it.
Shout out to Rollo. Yeah. Who looks exactly the same.
Just shout out to Dr. Dave Clayton.
Yeah, that's true.
So many people, they're like all about exercise, yet you look at them and you're like, nobody would know. Now, are they healthier? Sure. Certainly better than sitting on your ass and eating Doritos, but where's your motivation? Yeah. If you go year after year and you started as, kind of a chubby average guy or a skinny average guy, and then years later you're still a skinny average guy or a chubby average guy. And so I was really, like, while I did get quite a bit stronger over 20 years of weightlifting, nobody would know by looking at me. And I was just sort of generally pissed off about it. And I had already developed a medical device that focuses on bone density. The bone density device emulates high impact. So it's the benefit of high impact in a very slow and controlled environment. So your own central nervous system is the gauge as to how much loading goes through the particular joint in question.
Can you give us an example of like a high impact?
So
like running is high impact, but we're talking about lifting weights.
We're talking about neither.
Oh, interesting.
This therapy uses robotic arms to get people in the optimized position. So back of the hand in line with the clavicle, 120-degree angle from the upper to lower arm, and you self-impose force. You have a computer screen in front of you that shows you how much force you're creating in the moment, how much force you created in your previous session, previous best, and first. So you're looking at all that data and you're trying to control, breathe, be comfortable, be well seated in the seat, and contract and put the force through the axis of the bone. And it's that force, when you take the axis of the bone, you compress the axis, the bone becomes slightly distorted on the inside. So the bone matrix kind of looks like a honeycomb on the inside. You've seen pictures of that?
Yeah.
It becomes slightly distorted. When it bounces back into its lengthened position the normal resting position, it's now stimulated to pull in minerals and recalcify.
And that's how it gets stronger.
That's how it gets stronger. And that's you'd find that at Osteostrong. So that's a franchise that Tony Robbins is one of the driving forces behind getting that out there. We have 300 clinics in 15 different countries.
Oh, wow.
I think 10 million sessions logged. So lots of users, lots of people improving their bone density. After going through the experience of inventing that, I realized, like, wow, like the human body is so capable of producing incredible amounts of force, but we don't see that in weightlifting. And I thought, okay, like strength adaptations were incredible, but not really muscle adaptations. It was a matter of training the body to recruit more tissue. Also, as bone density goes up, you're able to recruit more tissue because you have less neural inhibition, which is basically your body's own process of saying, whoa, we're going to actually recruit less muscle here because you might hurt yourself. And sort of like you can't
self-regulates.
Well, right. You can't break a finger by squeezing a fist. Like you have enough strength. Everybody, even weak people, have enough strength to break their own finger. But your own body will stop you from contracting and squeezing a fist hard enough to cause a fracture. So that's what the machine uses, is your own mediation, your own comfort. And it's really kind of beyond comfort, just neural inhibitory, as in if you're going to hurt yourself, your body just shuts the muscle off. Yeah.
And is this something that could pair well with like are you familiar with the mirror?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mean the product?
Yeah.
By Peloton, yeah.
Oh, is it Peloton?
Or maybe no, Lululemon.
I think Lululemon bought it.
That's right. Yeah.
It'd be like a cool product to have, like with the mirror, because it's like you're using.
Yeah, it would never work with that. No, you need when I use the Osteostrong devices, I put 4,000 pounds through my hip joint.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, right. You know, the mirror is like 50 pounds.
This is like a whole different level of fitness. Like
I don't even call it fitness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a medical device.
Is this in like NFL stadiums? I mean, are these professional athletes
No,
using
this
this?
is designed for elderly women.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there's a story, right? This goes back to your mom, right?
I developed it to treat my mother's osteoporosis.
Wow.
So like women, postmenopausal women, they lose bone density a lot faster. And
Why is that, by the way?
hormonal changes, also, I mean, nutrition.
Because it affects women disproportionately, right? Versus men, the osteoporosis.
It used to. Now men are catching up because of basically just American
soft.
nutrition. It's just garbage food, carbs.
Well, can you also talk about building a personal brand? Because I think small business owners,
Dovetails right with it.
because I think small business owners, right, they're starting to realize that like if you have like let's say the X3 product, right, and this is like the medical device, right?
Yeah. Well, no, Osteostrong's the medical device.
Osteostrong's the medical device.
X3 is the fitness device.
The fitness device.
Yeah.
Let's say you have an X3 fitness device, right? And we'll get to like his routine and his fitness and how people want to emulate that.
Let me just jump right on.
Yeah,
that.
all right,
Like
cool.
the personal brand. Have you guys spoken to Hans? Anybody? Okay, so
Hans Kim?
Kim.
This is Hans Kim.
No, my PR guy. Hans.
Sorry.
So I met this young guy. I think he was like maybe 22. I was at it was a cocktail party at an Osteostrong location. I was giving a lecture about the device, and there were a bunch of physicians there that I had to talk to them, encourage them to send their patients to the Osteostrong clinics. And Hans just happened to be there because it was just something. We were in, I think, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so he lives there, and he was like, "Hey, like, how do you market your stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, I really don't. Like Osteostrong does." Chief science officer of the company, and then I have some other things going on. I'm about to launch like this fitness product, and he says, "Yeah, have you ever thought about a personal brand?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What do you mean? What's a personal brand?" And he goes, "I really didn't know."
Yeah.
And he says, like,
It's a new thing.
people are going to follow you more than they're going to follow your company. And I get that. I mean, like, what drove Apple to being such the juggernaut that it is? Steve Jobs. People were fascinated with every time he'd have a keynote, people who weren't even interested in, they were kind of silly gadgets at the time. Like, the original, like, does anybody remember the Newton? You remember that? Yeah. It was like the original iPad. No, it was thick. It was big.
Oh, really? I don't think I ever saw it.
He had a stylist.
Grant Cardone had one, I think. I think that's where I heard that story. He was his first like product on the Newton.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, and what happened was they canned it because people didn't get it. Then they came out with the iPhone, which was basically just a tiny Newton. And they said, once we get people used to these screens, we'll come out with the Newton again, call it the iPad, and that'll be like the new computer standard. So if you wonder what Apple's trying to do, they're basically trying to replace the personal computer with a tablet.
Yeah.
And like the billions of dollars they have made through that journey, but it needed to be introduced correctly. And a big part of that was the personal brand of Steve Jobs. Like he was fascinating because he saw the landscape of computing not evolving as it was. He wanted to take it in a completely different direction. And guys like that, first of all, they're called crazy usually.
Yeah.
And they're kind of fascinating to watch. And so I knew what Hans was saying. Hans has become one of my best friends. And like we work together to this day.
And he's led you to build your personal brand.
That's
like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, you know, like you got to have like an Instagram and Facebook account for X3, the product, and for Jaquish Biomedical, but you have to have one for Dr. John Jaquish, for you. And I was like, okay. And as we did that, like it all sort of fell into place.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things for X3, my fitness product, really looks at the fact that I'm not so much selling fitness, I'm selling a lifestyle. And there was a big life lesson that I learned earlier that reinforces this, but let me first explain what I mean by that. Oh. Selling a lifestyle is I'm a busy executive. I've got all kinds of scientific work I have to do with Osteostrong. I'm talking to physicians all the time, flying all over the world. I flew at the time, I was flying 200,000 miles a year. Yeah, I mean, I remember trips where I would go from San Francisco to Chicago, to London, to Moscow, to Osaka, back to San Francisco, like literally around the world. It's actually a lot cheaper to do that, buying all one-way flights around the world instead of, trying to make it one trip. But like, I was so busy and I needed something that would give me like the equivalent of a heavy weight workout or better. As it turned out, it was better. Heavy weight workout, but I needed to be able to just carry it in my regular suitcase because I'm on the move all the time.
And that's what led to the fitness device?
That's what led to X3. That was the creation of X3. It was like I needed something that could turn me into like at least what looked like, maybe not performed like completely just because of my age, an NFL player. Like I wanted to be as strong as possible, but the limitations were I got to be able to fit it in my suitcase.
This is funny. You know why? Do you guys know who Randy Hetrick is?
That name sounds familiar, but
So he is a former Navy SEAL, and he started this little company in San Francisco for the same reason.
oh, TRX.
Yeah, exactly.
I know Randy. That's why it sounds familiar.
So he would go on these long deployments and be on a boat, and there was like nothing he could do to get his physical fitness like in line. And so he developed this device, right? This fitness device called the TRX. And so it's just interesting how companies are born out of utility, right?
Yeah,
like you needed to travel.
Solving problems.
I needed something that fit a certain description. And also when it came to like, I'd rather work out at home. I don't want to go to gyms. I hate the stupid rap music that they play. The dumbbell rack has, this is a study on this, has more microbes, bacteria, and just generally infectious disease than a public toilet seat. 50,000 times more than a public toilet seat.
Yeah.
Gyms
So
are disgusting.
does the Air Blade by Dyson, by the way. You ever have the
right?
Yeah, if you ever have the opportunity to use a paper towel in a bathroom or an Air Blade or
paper towel every time.
Paper towel every time. Because it just moves around all the bacteria in the air right?
It sprays it on your face.
And spray. Yeah, dude, it's terrible, dude.
Yeah. They did a study that shows that it actually like sprays feces in your mouth.
Yeah, it's
because
awful.
People don't really wash their hands very well.
No. And then they're going
put under this like sprayer that just throws the material. It's the one that you put your hands in. Yeah. And they used to say like this, the like most hygienic hand dryer. And
don't say it anymore. They don't say it anymore. And that's the thing with dumbbells, right? You have guys that are
dumbbells are disgusting.
They're wiping their nose, their
breathing
mouth.
heavy and basically spitting all over the dumbbell rack.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole culture just sucks. And so I was just like,
right?
I don't want to be in a gym, but I also, we're looking at home fitness equipment. People who have power racks at their house, they typically lose a garage stall or a room. If you got a whole rack, first of all, you need a concrete floor. You can't just throw that like on the second floor of your house.
Yeah.
And then, so like I know guys like in the Midwest, they park outside because they got their home gym.
Their gym in the garage.
And, sometimes it's like 20 below zero and they got to walk. It's like, why you even deal with that, man?
So let me ask you a question. You create this fitness device, and
to solve all the problems I just described.
To solve all the problems. So then you have this, now you're building a personal brand. Take us through the sales and marketing. Because it's like a lot of people, they're like,
a lot of it's just lifestyle. Like I'm strong, I'm fit, I have a strong, fit wife. We travel all the time. We're always having a good time.
Yeah.
And we're keeping fit. Because there's a lot of people who are all about like the kind of bodybuilding lifestyle.
Yeah.
Part of the bodybuilding lifestyle is you're never allowed to have fun. Like you train, you're not allowed to have, you can't like go out and I mean, maybe part of that's like a financial thing. But it's like, if you look at the lifestyle, my lifestyle is very different than those who are in the bodybuilding industry. And my question is, well, why? You made a whole bunch of decisions so that you're working out in dirty, awful places with dirty, awful people. This is the woman working out in their underwear, is the awful people I'm talking about.
Dean loves awful people.
Yeah, and there's just also like, like some of the lower end gyms, like this is how homeless people shower.
Absolutely.
Like they get a $9 a month gym membership.
Yeah.
So now you go into Planet Fitness and you're like literally
that's the butt of every
fitness
industry joke. You go to Planet Fitness.
You go to Planet Fitness and it's like you're dealing with just a sanitation like horror show. Like why deal with any of that? Just have your own X3.
Yeah.
And
so then how
you can put it in a drawer when you're done because it's tiny.
But how do you market that? Take us through like the
lifestyle.
Yeah. So take us through that personal.
I work out in my living room on my zebra skin rug, and they can tell it's a living room. They can tell it's not a gym.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of looking and like,
So are you filming this and then posting it to your social media? Yeah. Okay. So people are seeing a device. They're seeing a guy who's in his mid 40s, who's in very good shape.
Yep.
Right. And then what? They're seeing this on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
All the above.
All the above.
Yeah.
And then how are you encouraging them to check out? Do you have like some Shopify store? Like take us through the engineering of like, all right, I've got a product, I'm going to market it.
This is like what I'm talking about. Like it's just, viewers of social media, that's top of funnel.
Okay.
So they see what I got going on in my life, and then they might check out the product. They might go to the website and try and look at some of the science. And, the good news is if they're interested in that, we got lots of science about variable resistance. So variable resistance, much more powerful at stimulating strength, equally or more powerful at stimulating muscular size, depending on how it's applied.
Okay.
And what I started off with talking about the stretched portion.
Yeah. Coming full circle on that.
Yeah. So that the product was designed to make up for the shortcoming of a lot of variable resistance programming, which is not enough fatigue happening in that stretch portion. You have to fatigue that stretch portion.
Okay.
And so we built the protocol and made sure that we designed the product so that there's always tension in that weaker range of motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I want to understand this, because a lot of people come up with a product.
This is the business side.
This is the business side of things,
absolutely.
right?
We're super interested in that.
Because they come up with a product, that's fine. And something that comes to mind, and a guy who I want to introduce you to and if you're so willing to come back on the podcast, a friend of ours, his name is Dr. Dave Clayton. He's, for all intents and purposes, a prison doctor, but he's a prison doctor who, like you, is in his mid-40s, in very good shape. He's a triathlete, so he lives the lifestyle that he's promoting.
Sure.
And he's trying to start a line of vitamins, of nutraceuticals, right? Supplements, right? To promote the type of healthy lifestyle that he leads. But I think where he's stuck and where you're not stuck, and that's the sort of like the Grand Canyon divide between people who have an idea and people who execute on the idea, right? And so he hasn't yet been able to execute on the idea. I want to hear about it. Like you come up with X3, right? And it's solving the problem, right? The resistance problem of what normally people go through when they're working out, right? Yeah. It solves that, but it also solves the portability aspect, which for anyone who's an entrepreneur, they're busy and they're traveling, right? Yeah. They're not going to a city and then 15 minutes before or an hour before a podcast, they're going to Planet Fitness in that area to work out and then shower with the homeless people. Right. So they're looking for that portability. They're looking, for something that solves the physical fitness, or that fills that physical fitness void that they need.
Yeah. Well, it more than solves it. Like you'll get better results with this than you will with weights.
But 30 years ago, right, this problem for the entrepreneur was solved with an infomercial.
Right.
But
QVC,
fast
for example,
forward today, Body by Jake. I remember that. I'm old.
Beachbodies was another one.
But fast forward to today, we got direct to consumer, we got Instagram, we got Google. And so curious, like, what is your journey? How did you test these theories and how did you actually?
So each style or wording thing, however I want to approach connecting with people is measured. So every post, it's like we look at the performance and then we look at the comments and try and figure out what did people react positively to? What did people react negatively to?
Oh, wow.
If they reacted negatively, were they trolls or were they like maybe asking a good question? If they're asking a good question, maybe the next post is more like, hey, we've been getting this question. Here's the answer. And then, here's a couple studies that support how we style the product based on this research. When I wrote the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time, there's 260 peer-reviewed references in that book. Nobody's been able to poke a hole in that book. Like, it's absolutely solid because I just backed up absolutely everything I said with other points of data that I didn't come up with. It's one of those things where you have to have science, but then a lot of people, they'll read a scientific reference and it won't mean much to them. But we also have about 40 NFL and NBA players on the website who gave us free endorsements.
So these are brand ambassadors or just testimonials, right?
They're testimonials, but they're not testimonials that were paid. These people were paid nothing. Yeah.
That's important.
And Terrell Owens is up there. Like I love T.O. Yeah, he's great.
Remember his TV show? It was so good. Yeah, it was such a good TV show. What's that?
Number 81.
He was the best. Huge T.O. fan. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, he's a great
dude.
Yeah, and he's a really nice person too. I think he was a little harder to deal with like a few years ago. When you're the best wide receiver of all time, somebody asks you a stupid question and you'll tell them it's a stupid question. Yeah. And I think he's in a different place now. Yeah. And I think he's just great to work with.
You have this idea, you've got this personal brand that Hans led you down this path to promote, which is a departure from everything that we're basically all the same age. We grew up on QVC, direct to consumer, late night, Chuck Norris. And what was that other girl's name? They're like working out together. She's like Australian or what? I can't remember what it was called, but it was like, he would pull on this bench, he would lay down on like a bench press. Yeah. And, Not Bowflex.
It's a sliding bench.
It was a sliding bench. You would pull these like cables.
It was called the Total Gym.
The Total Gym.
Was it Christy Brinkley?
Yes.
It was Christy Brinkley. And how the hell do I remember that?
I don't know. She was smoking. She was a smoke show.
A video of Christy Brinkley since I was like 7.
Dude.
That's who it was. Chuck Norris.
Christmas Vacation.
No, the normal vacation.
Oh, the normal vacation.
The original vacation.
She was in a Ferrari.
Yeah, it was a 308 Ferrari.
Yeah. 308. 308 like Magnum PI, or was that 328?
No, that was a 308.
That was a 308. Oh man, great car. But
We could do another podcast. That's not really that great of a car.
Listen, when I was a kid and I was watching,
It's cool looking.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What
Yeah, the GTO is the great car.
Yeah.
And it looked very similar to the 308, but
Dean's a Ferrari guy. But I want to understand this because, like, you know, we grew up in an age where you would watch an infomercial. Then it was like, okay, cable TV became something in the 90s.
yeah.
Right? First, you had to like watch late night TV.
Yeah.
Actually, first, the TV shut off at night. It was like, thanks and good night. The TV just went black.
Literally.
Yeah, seriously.
It was like a,
was
like
snow.
a screen.
Yeah.
It was snow, or it was like a box with like 7 like color bars.
Yes.
It looked like a,
Yes.
you know, kind of like what do you call that? Yeah, like that paint store.
Yes.
You know, like
yeah,
a-
yeah, yeah.
What
Absolutely.
year was that?
In the 80s, the TV shut off.
Yeah,
Late
you're talking
70s.
like 81 or 79 or something like that. Yeah.
The TV just shut off. They're like,
when we got cable, because
okay, so yeah,
it was when we got cable. Then it was like
24 hour.
like, they would just show reruns. There'd be like black and white Mr. Ed episodes.
Right. And
like
Remember that, Love?
And USA and all these stuff like would have these infomercials late at night. You probably want to talk about like
remember like USA Up All Night.
I knew you were
They
gonna
would
go there.
say
Damn
Up
it.
All
Was it?
Night.
Yes.
Night
Yeah,
Stockings?
Elvira would
Yes.
would
yes.
Gilbert
I got
Gottfried?
that. Gilbert Gottfried. I actually hung out with Elvira. She's so cool.
She was a smoke show. Elvira was a smoke show. She was hot.
Silk Stockings. That was the show that I liked. Miami Vice and
It
Silk
was called
Stockings.
USA
That's what
Up
I
All
was-
Night.
Yeah, USA Up All Night.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, hosted by Elvira. And it was
Yeah.
like episodes of like I think like old Twilight Zone, like black
Yeah.
and white Twilight Zones, and then she would sort of MC the whole like
If there was
evening.
Munster, I don't know, whatever it was. Then you sort of got to kind of bring this back to like the small business owner. You had these products that would be like infomercials late at night, right? And you had like, it was connected to a call center because back then it was no like internet,
Yeah.
right? So you would call 1-800 da 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 da.
Sometimes a half-hour show amongst old like horror programs.
Yeah.
There'd be like a half hour where Cher is talking about her skincare line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So you've got X3,
Cher.
you've got personal brand. Yeah, dude,
awesome.
we're like from a different generation.
Look, just look at how much the world has changed.
Yeah.
Like we're not that old.
No, we're not that old,
40,
but the world has
47.
changed. And it's because of the internet, right? The internet has really, Jeff Bezos talks about this with Lex Friedman. He's like, I created Amazon. It's like, Amazon wouldn't be anything if somebody hadn't created the internet.
It's the actual infrastructure.
It's the ecosystem that somebody built. Right. Absolutely. And that's why I'm
He was
like,
talking about space.
yeah,
Awesome.
it was a good interview. But what I'm curious about
It's really
is this,
DARPA. That
well, it's
created the
really
internet.
the N.
But that's what he was kind of thinking.
IS.
Right, he was kind of thanking DARPA
Yeah.
for their
Yeah.
hard work building
yeah.
the infrastructure.
Yeah,
So
they-
he's like, look, now I'm going to do what DARPA did. I'm going to help build this infrastructure in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the entrepreneurs of space
Yeah.
will thank me.
Yeah. But like, again, right, in the 70s, or not the 70s, but in the 80s, you have infomercials, 90s, you have infomercials. Then it's the internet, the dawn of the internet, where people can go online. You have X3, you've got a personal brand, but how do you come up with the idea to market it? Because it's not just easy, right? You're making it seem like it's super simple.
When you do it right, it is. But okay.
Well, take us through the journey, because you must have done it wrong.
I'm about ready to go on like a rant here and hit like 5 points that you're asking about.
Awesome.
So when you look at that landscape, there's a lot of different ideas you have to try. What you have to do is figure out how to make each idea fail as quickly as possible, because then you get to learn without spending all your money.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to do is say, well, is this going to work? Well, we'll know in 6 months. Well, when do we run out of cash? 7 months?
Yeah.
You don't want to be in that position.
Yeah.
So you want to find out like in a day if your idea is going to work or not. So you execute on a strategy, and then you put a serious amount of money for like 1 day and see like, how many conversions are we going to get?
All right. Well, but
based on this
tell us,
sort of thing.
yeah, listen, you're talking like these obscure generalities that only people with successful companies understand.
Okay.
But like if you were to like explain this to like a 7th grader, you'd say like, okay, I've got an X3. It's a fitness device. I'm going to go on Google, right? And I'm going to put $1,000 in 1 day behind these keywords. Is that what you're saying? And then if it works, it works.
And whatever keywords don't work, we stop using those, but then we'll always try new ones.
But was that your journey?
Yeah, literally that.
Really?
Yeah. When we first launched the product, I was actually planning on targeting like sort of the fitness community.
Yeah.
Dave Asprey, good friend of mine, was like, "Oh, that'll never work."
I love that guy.
He's great.
He's great.
Yeah, I was just on his podcast.
Were you really?
For like the 4th time, yeah.
In Austin?
Oh, we did it virtual.
Oh, you did virtual.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
We're going to be in, I don't know if you know Dave Asprey, but we're going to be going to Shannon Graham, who's another person I want to introduce you to.
Okay.
He's starting a company called Astronaut, which is going to take people to space. He's based in Austin and is close friends with Dave Asprey. But I got to get you connected.
So Dave told me like a scientific argument aimed at fitness people. Like I don't think you realize how, let me say it in a charitable way, how difficult those people are. He said they don't have a lot of disposable income and typically not too bright.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's
it's the Mark Wahlberg movie. Do you remember that fitness movie that he did? That was a great movie.
Yeah. Pain and Gain.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was such a good movie.
That was an excellent movie.
Excellent.
Dwayne Johnson was hilarious.
Yeah.
In that. Like he played a complete craze like cokehead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is really outside of what he did. Normally he does sort of like family friendly roles.
Yeah.
And he was like a hardcore criminal in that movie. That's probably my favorite Dwayne Johnson movie.
Yeah.
Because he's just like a true actor. Like Tom Hanks level. Like you watch him and you're like, I can't even believe Dwayne Johnson.
Is that Dwayne Johnson for real?
Do that.
Yeah.
Like, wow. But just such class actor. And Mark Wahlberg too. But Mark Wahlberg's always been lots of different roles. So, but yeah, it was the audience. Like within one day, it was like, okay, we're pivoting. Because these people are never going to understand what I'm talking about. And so we pivoted. I was like, I just sat there and I looked at I had one employee at the time. I looked at him and I said, well, what am I? Because I would buy this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I know I'm not the only busy professional.
Right.
And so Henry, the guy I'm talking to, who's still like the absolute like key guy I have, he's like, we could just target busy professionals. I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. And it was like day 2. Looked like that.
Really?
Just sales, like boom, like because.
And this is Google PPC. You're just typing in keywords, trying it out, looking at what the cost per click is.
This was actually back when Facebook actually had good advertising tools.
Yeah.
Now it's a little more elusive on how to get to that right audience, but Google learns what your audience is and then doesn't tell you the metrics of that audience because they don't want you applying it other places.
Oh, interesting.
But it's okay if you're smart enough, you can figure out like that's where you gotta like hire sort of the internet advertising analysts,
right?
And so that comes later on.
But this is on Meta, so you're like targeting busy professionals or something like that.
That's right.
And they're showing the ad for the X3 fitness device.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're getting tremendous amount of clicks.
Yeah, and honestly, like the time savings and the fact that you don't have to go to a gym was like the most marketable thing. And it turned out. The reason I called it X3, and I used to say triple the gains, was because there was a study, Anderson, 2008, looked at Cornell athletes, 2 groups of Cornell athletes. One group trained with variable resistance, similar to X3.
Yeah.
Another group lifted regular weights. They both gained strength, but the amount of strength gained, the difference between the 2 groups was triple with the variable resistance.
Oh, X3.
That's why I called it X3. We did a couple surveys of customers. Turns out almost nobody believed that claim. They just loved it because it was convenient.
Yeah.
And I mean, emotionally, as an entrepreneur, it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
I get it.
Yeah. And
I totally get it. Yeah.
You want to be right, not rich.
Yeah, exactly. Well, fortunately, I just decided to sit on my hands and not say anything. Like, okay, I'm not going to straighten everybody out. But I do hammer that idea that this is a superior approach. It's easier on joints, stimulates more muscle involvement, fatigues more completely. Now you have to use it correctly. You have to do that diminishing range and have those stretch mediated repetitions at the end.
Can I bore you? I want to know more about this marketing thing. I'm just going to ask you a million questions.
It's great. I'm glad you're asking.
Okay, because
I get almost as many questions about how I pulled it off.
Yeah.
As about how the actual product works. And so
Well, this audience
I'm going to
cares
tell you,
about
I'm going
that.
to tell you the best marketing lesson I ever learned.
It's a good setup. This is awesome.
This is absolute solid gold. And I've never told this story.
I love it.
So when I was in undergrad, lived in my fraternity house, playing rugby. My father joked, you're majoring in fraternity and minoring in rugby. I was actually getting my degree in business, but
Yeah.
I definitely took a victory lap. That's an extra year.
Super
for
senior?
You Gen Z people who might not know what that term means. Yeah, super senior. They call it that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I was in no hurry to graduate, and I was having a great time. And just to earn a little extra money, I got a job as a greeter at Abercrombie and Fitch. So the greeter basically stands in the breezeway of the shopping mall and with no shirt on and throws a Frisbee into the store, and other guys in the store throwing the Frisbee back to you. So the environment was like lake party.
Yeah.
All the big, beautiful photos of gorgeous in shape people who are, like barbecuing lakeside, and they're canoeing, and it's like, it was this amazing environment where you almost felt like you were outdoors when you were in this mall that had no windows, right? Because it was just such beautiful, large photography. I mean, I'm talking like 11 feet by like 8.5, like huge. And
We remember.
Yeah, dude. Okay. We were there,
well,
bro.
I know, but for those, I just want to paint the picture. Yeah. So you wanted people to feel like they were at this lakeside party, which is why the greeter didn't wear, I mean, I didn't have to be shirtless, but I was in shape, so I wanted to be shirtless.
Yeah.
So, and just having a great time, and like the music was almost so loud you couldn't even hear the customer.
About the fragrance.
Yep.
Right.
We pumped the cologne through the air conditioning system.
Yeah.
Probably poisoned us all.
Yeah, absolutely.
To a small degree.
Do you want an Altoid? No, I'm good.
I remember when there was like a marketing manager that came to visit us, and he comes into the store and he looks around, and it's like 9:00 at night because the mall's closing, and this guy's got sunglasses on, and so I'm like, is he hungover? Like, what's this guy doing? And so all the employees it was voluntary attendance, but you want to hear from this marketing guy. I liked that job. I thought it was a really cool store. I thought it was cool that they could pretty much sell the same thing everybody else did for like quadruple the price. Yeah. And people were lining up outside our store, whereas, Macy's had basically the same stuff and nobody was in there. And so I was fascinated at what this guy was going to say. And so I show up at this meeting, and the store managers are talking to him about, we have some theft problems and, things like that. And I don't know if we're using enough cologne in the air conditioning system or whatever. And the guy's still got his sunglasses on. He's sitting down. He's just kind of like I am right now, just sort of like not giving a shit, listening. And he goes, listen. And he puts his hand out like this, and the manager was like, I remember this woman, I forgot her name, but like she was super organized, and she came with like a couple of binders, and this guy wanted nothing to do with her paperwork. He didn't care at all. He goes, here, we don't sell clothes. And he took his sunglasses off, and he looked around the room, he says, we sell a lifestyle. He put his shades back on, absolute dead silence. He gets up and walks out. And people are like, they had like a list of like 100 things they wanted to discuss.
Yeah.
And it was just the managers first. And then, the employees, like everyone had questions. We were supposed to be there for like 2 hours. The guy left in the first 5 minutes and just walked out. And so it's dead silence. And I go, that guy was awesome. And everybody looks at me and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? He's terrible. He didn't help us at all. I'm like, no. He told us exactly what we need to know. We sell a lifestyle here. Right. Like, what do people want? Do they want to like pay too much for underwear? No. They want to be a part of an experience. And the interesting thing about the people who shopped at Abercrombie and Fitch, you would talk to them, like, because they're repeat customers, right? They love the brand, and they would start talking about their lifestyle. And they would always say like, oh yeah, I threw this beach party the other day at Folsom Lake. And it's just like, you bought the clothes and then you went and did what you felt at the store. Right. So we didn't just sell you clothes. We actually sold you an idea of how to live your life. And these people would actually be happier. Like the whole experience was creating, I don't want to say a better life, because you can say that about like, you know, having Jesus in your life or whatever. So I don't want to make it sound like too extreme, but they were having a better time. They were having a better experience, all as a result. So it's like, okay, now that I have my own product, now that I have X3, yeah, I could sit in a room that has just, you know, like cement walls and, you know, like a prison cell, and just, you know, here's how it works. You know, here's the link.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, that'd be it.
Right.
Now, I take that X3 everywhere in the world. I do workouts on every gorgeous beach. I'm actually headed to Bora Bora in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do all kinds of workouts, you know, in the sand. Yeah. And it's like, I see my customers doing the same thing. Like, they have much cooler lives as a result of this product. They're in super great shape. Yeah. Their partner is typically in super great shape, because the guy is usually the one that makes the strength equipment buying decisions for whatever reason. But the wives are like, wait, I can do that too, right? Because they see it's effective. They see their husband all of a sudden has a six pack. So I look at the pictures on my social media, and my customers are having the same photos.
It's the UGC, right? It's the user-generated content. That's help.
When we even talk about user-generated content, that's usually somewhat manufactured. Right. But this is like, they're just actually living the life that I, not in so many words, told them that they could live if they were free from the goddamn shitty gym. Yeah.
You're helping them curate the lifestyle that they want.
That's right.
Right?
That's
what Abercrombie does.
It's what they used to do. Like Abercrombie
they're back.
Are they?
Oh, they're back.
I think they're a shadow of what they were.
They're on a tear.
Really?
They're on a tear. They are back.
Are they back to only hiring good-looking people?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a big part of the equation.
No, who's going to use plus-size models?
No, they don't. Who's going to use the X3 if you're fat? Right? If you're watching like some, you know.
So interesting to bring that up. There's a lot of like really morbidly obese people who have had amazing success with X3. We push that too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're having a better lifestyle also. It's not about working out on the beach. It's about being able to get out of bed for the first time in 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I did a video on YouTube where there was a woman who I think she spent 3 years in bed, and she started using X3, you know, just kind of barely getting out of bed and using it.
Yeah.
And of course she had to change her nutrition, the massive problem.
Right.
And she was healing. She was becoming
better. There you go, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's the UGC that is going to push this product into a mass market, right?
The best brands in the world understand this lesson that you just taught us so well, right? From Nike to Jeep. Right?
How about when MP3 players were new?
Yeah.
You know, like Logitech would come out with one, and it'd be like, this one has an entire gigabyte more. You know, they were talking like in tech terms.
Yeah, I think it was megabytes back then. Yeah, but
yeah, right. It was, absolutely right.
Yeah,
man. Right. Like the 40 megabyte iPod was like, whoa, what are you going to do with all that space?
Right.
But Apple comes out with theirs. They don't say anything about the technology. They say 1,000 songs in your pocket, and instantly, every person who didn't understand the tech terms were like, oh, I would love that. I would love to have 1,000 songs in my pocket.
Right.
So it's a very similar product, what Logitech was doing, what Apple was doing. It's all in how you present it and what they see. Like, here's another thing that I've heard it maybe one time, and I just remember, and I repeat it all the time. People don't buy products. They buy better versions of themselves. Like, what is this going to do for me? Like, if you get that 308 Ferrari, are you going to look cooler? Yeah, you are. It might be a slow car, but it doesn't really matter, because you're going to be like Chevy Chase in that car in vacation. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you've explained the origin of the X3. You've explained the marketing journey. You've explained very well the personal brand journey, right? Dovetailing with Hans and his help. if you could do something better today with the X3, because everybody, whatever small business owner that exists out there in the ether, they always think they're on, you know, you talked about like doing the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, and then eventually pivoting to the right one.
Yeah.
What's the one stone in your shoe today? What's the one thing that like bothers you about the business, about the marketing, about the branding, about the distribution, the whatever the case may be? What's one thing where you're like, if I could just fix this, this brand would be.
That's an awesome question. And I'm going to give you a bizarre answer. The problem I have is I can't find a stone in my shoe right now. And that worries me because it's like, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's there and I'm not quite seeing, like the business is growing very quickly. I mean, I have detractors, but they're all clowns. Like they're people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like people make, videos like X3 is a scam. And then they'll just basically rant on how they love lifting weights and, fuck Dr. J.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how's that a review? Oh, and there's review videos where they don't have the product and they never did. And it's like, how's this a review?
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I mean,
or it's like,
it's fine.
What's
I don't
that
care about
British
those guys.
car, the group that we love, those British guys that review cars. Top Gear, where they purposely
Grand Tour now.
Grand Tour, where they purposely
Grand Tour, yeah.
where they purposely reviewed because they like beat the shit out of their like cameraman.
Allegedly.
No, I'm pretty sure that he did, but
Clarkson did.
Clarkson
Yeah,
did.
that's what they.
That's why they had to go to Amazon.
Yeah,
They got fired by BBC. But more importantly, they had brought Elon Musk's Model S on. Do you remember this? This kind of dovetails with what you're talking about, where people wouldn't even have the X3, or they would review the X3, but it's broken, and then say, look what they shipped me. And they did that with Elon Musk and his car. They purposely sabotaged the review to screw Elon Musk. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
It's very interesting. Yeah. And so
Yeah, but that happens.
it does, right? And so
You
we're
just got to look at that and be like, yeah, they're full of shit.
yeah.
And
But you talk about there's no stone in the shoe. The detractors are kind of like not even on the radar. They're kind of in the peripheral. But like, you're sitting in this podcast and we're talking about this amazing product. But how do we take this brand X3 and
make it the Apple computer of exercise?
yeah, like the globally dominant, and I love acronyms.
Because we haven't heard of it. So
like, how do you
we'd
take
love
this?
people to know.
Yeah, like how do you take it and make this the globally dominant portable fitness device, whatever the acronym is?
I don't even think you need to put the caveat portable. Like, it's just more useful. You can do it on the beach. You can bring it with you when you go on vacation. You can do it in your backyard. Wouldn't it be better to do your strength training under the sun? Like,
Dude.
Here's another thing. I almost never work out inside.
Toes in the soil, dude.
Like, yeah, like
A lot of benefits.
or just I'm like, poolside at some, place in Vegas that's not like a nightclub pool.
Yeah, it's a
and, like,
day
people
club
see
pool.
that and they're like, no, I don't do those. Those are fun, but
Yeah.
not for bringing your workout gear. Yeah, like the Waldorf has a great like pool area. There's no bar there.
This is in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I do workouts with some friends that live in Vegas, and we do them, and it's like, it's gorgeous. I'm by the pool, do my workout, jump in the pool, maybe drink water because, I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah.
No one who's in shape is. So
Hey, no vices.
well, I didn't say I don't drink. I just said I don't drink much.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's back to that lifestyle. It's like, people see that and they go, I go to Vegas, I should have one of those things. And that way, I'd actually come home in better shape as opposed to worse.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like going back to like the distribution of this product.
Oh, yeah. I did not answer your question. So this is the thing. I'm running into the problem. Maybe this is the stone in my shoe.
Yeah.
I need to encourage people who have never exercised or even thought about exercising, because
There you go.
the actual, like, the fitness has a couple of different markets. It has the gym market, which pretty much revolves around the $9 a month client.
That doesn't show up.
Or that shows up. I mean, there are people who do go and use Planet Fitness other than the homeless people. These are aspiring bodybuilders.
Yeah.
You know, or people who follow sort of the bodybuilding culture, if you want to call it that. But there's also probably the largest market is what I would call fake fitness.
Okay.
As in, you good friends with Ryan? The TRX guy?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
You're not going to offend me.
Okay. I mean, people ask me about, is TRX good? It's 40 ways to do a shitty pull-up. You could just be a man and do a fucking pull-up. Like, I don't, the whole TRX thing, they're actually out of business now. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
so,
that got taken down, right, by Amazon, really. So it's like...
Well... knockoff products
on Amazon that allowed, right, the proliferation of TRX ripoffs.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Well, when your product is basically truck tie downs with handles, it's pretty easy to copy that.
Yeah.
And it's, they didn't have a lot of patent protection. I have a shit ton of patent protection. So the knockoffs that have been on Amazon on my product, I shut them down.
But going back to
I can even shut down, I've shut down 7 companies in China.
Yeah.
In China.
Yeah.
People say, oh, you can't do that. Yeah, you can. You need Chinese attorneys, which I have on retainer, and you need patents that are granted by the Chinese government, which I have.
Huh. But you were talking about market segments. I think this is important for like small business owners, right?
The market segments, fake fitness is a big market, and we want to stay away from those people. So the people who buy a cheapo product, a $35 whatever, it's so they can say they work out at home, but they don't. They know it's junk.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, I work out at home. Yeah, no, you don't. So that's the whole, that's their purpose. And unfortunately, that's a huge portion of the population. What I want to do is, I think those people want to be fit. They don't want to go to a gym. That's clear. But instead of that $35 product, how about you actually get a product that'll do something to you? And so I'm trying to see what I can do to just broaden the spectrum and get more people to want to be fit. Because it's really odd. Like when people talk to me about fitness, they stop me at the grocery store. What do you do? How are you in such great shape? Just the fact that they would even ask the question means they're interested.
Yeah, those are buying questions.
Yep. Yeah. And then it's like, but once they hear about the whole thing, it's like, I'm honest. I tell them, I'm pretty strict with my nutrition, and I work out. My workouts, I'm experimenting with some different volume changes, but basically it's like 10 minutes a day, 6 days a week. And people will actually hear that and be like, oh, that's a lot of work. And I'm like, wow, really?
We have to change their thinking. But I think one of the things that interests me about X3, right? Like if this was like a pitch deck that was dropped on my desk, right? Or I went to lunch at a country club and sat down with somebody, that was pitching this, I would say, okay, well, you've got a lot of people who manufacture equipment in the fitness industry, right? And once you buy a treadmill, you're not going to buy another treadmill. And that's the problem that Peloton got into. And they thought they could
have an outrageously high subscription.
So, well, hold on one second, because you're already anticipating where I'm going. So then they got a rowing machine, right? Or they started with the bike, then they went to a tread, right? Then they went to a rowing machine, right? Mm-hmm. Now they're working with Amazon, and they're offering lease specials, no money down, da 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 da. I think the problem becomes with fitness devices is akin to what the people at Apple go through, which is if you buy an iPad, it's going to be pretty hard to sell you another iPad, right? If you buy a Mac, it's pretty hard to sell you another Mac. And so they try every year to iterate and sort of force you into compliance with buying the updated version.
Yeah.
But when you have super expensive equipment, right, it's not necessarily the easiest pill to swallow, right, to adapt to this iterative device.
Yeah,
And so,
you don't want to spend $2,000 on a desktop computer and then throw it away in 2 years. And buy
no,
another
you don't want
one.
to. And so with the X3, if you were pitching me as an investor for the X3, I would be receptive if you said, well, so many people come out with fitness devices, but this is something that involves interactive videos, and it's an app on your phone, and the device is connected through Bluetooth or whatever technology to the device. And so you're getting feedback that's then logged on your device. And then there's a subscription model.
That.
All right, so tell me about it.
Yeah, so
tell
the
me
force
about it.
bar.
Yeah.
Did my staff
No.
like spin you up on that? Okay.
No, nobody's
That's funny. I wasn't even going to mention that today.
I'm just Jewish and I have the mind of a champion.
Okay. So X3, the standard X3 has no data capture capability, but the newest one is called the X3 Force Bar. It's about double the price.
Yeah.
But it captures all your data. It keeps real time data. So like you can see I'm at 200 pounds at the bottom of chest press. The number climbs to 300 in the middle and then 550 at the top. And it shows that on the phone, and then it captures the aggregate of the entire set. So sampling at multiple times per second. Therefore, I can see, like if somebody does like a crappy rep where they're just sort of, doing this sort of thing.
Just rep it out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, what you want is slow and controlled. You want to be able to control the resistance because that's the maximum muscular engagement. So you're rewarded for going slow and controlled because it's a higher aggregate.
Right.
And so that force bar is doing really well. And that there is a subscription.
There we go.
For that.
I think one of the reasons why I liked Peloton was because they gamified physical fitness.
Yeah.
And it's another one of the reasons why I like professional sports, even golf, which is a slow moving sport to watch, is because they gamify it with a leaderboard, right? Yeah. And so just like horse racing or dog racing, football, baseball, like to a lesser extent, golf with the leaderboard, I think for companies in the physical fitness sector, where the foundation of the fitness device, it goes hand in hand with technology. If you gamify it, if you make it fun, if you make it competitive, if you make it like I can get an X3 Force, you can get an X3 Force, you can get an X3 Force. And then we have like, you're going to work out at 5 a.m., but I'm going to work out at 8 and you're going to work out at 6 p.m. But then there's a leaderboard on the app where I can compete with you in a 30-day challenge. I like that. I like that a lot. It's the competitive aspect. It's that you can do it with other.
We haven't launched that feature yet.
Yeah.
But the idea you can put together your own groups.
Yes.
So, everybody who's whatever part of your golfing crew on Saturday mornings, like, they're all working out throughout the week and everybody's looking at everybody's numbers come in. And if somebody skips their workout, everybody else knows it.
So this is funny, right? This reminds me of accountability. Arnold Schwarzenegger in one of the best movie documentaries, whatever you want to call it, which is Pumping Iron. If you remember that one, he's in front of the camera. And
I've heard of it.
Yeah. He's in front of the camera and he's saying, I don't know if he's talking to like, with the guy who played the Incredible Hulk,
Lou
Ferrigno. I don't know if he was talking about Lou Ferrigno. He's like, but we're working out. This is like 1970s or something. He's like, we're working out. And then afterwards we go eat a meal. You know where I'm going with this? And he's like, I ordered a hamburger, but I just eat the meat. And then I'm seeing Lou over here eating the bun. And I'm like, Lou, what are you doing? You're eating the bun. Those carbs aren't going to help you, bro. And I feel like that aspect
of competition.
Yes. Like that aspect of competition amongst especially men, but also women, very competitive human beings, but men specifically in this segment, we don't want a device just to work out. We want a device to brag about. We want a device to compete with. We want a leaderboard. We want to shame our friends.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of Schadenfreude syndrome, if you're familiar with that term in German, where it's like you want to see people not do well.
In pain.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. And I think for people who are building fitness devices or any type of device, right? In the fitness industry, the basis of that device needs to have a large technological component, but it can't skip the competitive sort of, we're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We're a community. And so having a leaderboard with your community in mind, like the group you were talking about.
Well, so man, I was just talking about this on another podcast.
Oh, fuck.
No, you guys are cooler. There's such one of the tough things when I launched Osteostrong was there's nothing that makes you look physically better about having higher bone density. But what we noticed is as people built their bone density, they became very talented at muscle engagement, which is for postmenopausal females, you think they wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But we noticed that people who are slightly kyphotic, almost immediately within weeks, their shoulders would be pulled back. And I don't mean they were walking around like people think posture is a conscious thing. No, it's a subconscious thing, basically based on the tensegrity balancing between the pectorals, the trapezius muscles, just general conditioning of musculature throughout the upper and lower body. Like your abs, your quadratus muscles, your oblique muscles all play in how you stand. Well, these became much more activated in postural. There were postural changes. And once Osteostrong started talking about how everybody ends up looking younger because they have improved posture, everybody showed up. Yeah. Like you gotta have, like, health isn't enough. Health isn't something you see. Health isn't gonna make you a more interesting person at the garden party.
Right.
And I'm just thinking specifically about that population, but you gotta have a vanity component, otherwise people aren't gonna stick with it.
And that's the competitive edge, right? The vanity component, to kind of like, it's a callback to what you said earlier about CrossFit. You see somebody who does CrossFit and you're like, what, you do CrossFit? And you're like,
I would never know you worked out.
Yeah. And you know what? Those shitty pull-ups that you're doing, those kip-ups or whatever, like, as you can see.
Let me count for you. Zero. Zero.
Right.
Zero. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, like you said, right? When people stop you at the grocery store and they see what you look like and they're like, what do you do? We want to emulate what success is, right? We see a version of ourselves in you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with this device,
that's it,
right? The X3 Force, right? I'm going to buy it because I want to get strong, but I also want to look strong, right? And then I also want to look stronger than you. And then you're going to buy it.
The next thing I was going to say is, like, when you first start working out, you just want to look better in a t-shirt. But over time, you really just want to look better than everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to be the guy at the barbecue that everybody's like, wow, that guy works out. Look at that guy.
But that's what
everybody wants to be, that guy.
But that's what innovation is. Yeah. Right. And this is not like an infomercial to, like, pick people up or anything, but that's what innovation is. Yeah. And we've talked about Apple and how the computer was this big in the 50s and then it got smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you said 1,000.
Used to be the size of this room in the 60s.
Right.
With punch cards.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And then you're like, well, now it's 1,000 songs in your pocket. Right. And so it's iteration, it's the evolution, but it's becoming a better version of not only ourselves, but our peers. And then our peers see it and they want to be a better version of themselves. Yeah. So it's like a vanity component, but it creates a better community. And that's the uplifting part, right? About the X3 Force.
Identifying as part of the community is just as important.
Explain what you mean by that.
I just mean that people who buy a Jeep want to identify as being outdoorsy, right? As being adventurous. Yeah. And so the car represents a whole lot more than just four wheels.
The Ford Raptor. I want to look like a certain way. Like I never take my truck off-roading, but I want to look like that.
Right. And so they're returning to become a Jeep customer multiple times because they want to identify with that community.
They got their own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would show you what it is, but I don't want to show the people who don't have Jeeps. So.
Yeah.
Very important.
That's a great example, right? It's the belonging to a community. And so with the X3, right, or the X3 Force, what's the future of that? Like, and we can end on this note, but what's the future of the X3 Force, the next iteration? take me through another collaboration project that you might have in mind. I'm just interested. Where can we see this device in the next 24 months? What is it going to look like?
You're going to see it a lot of different places. It's going to quantify a lot of people's strength. Professional athletes are using it to quantify strength without risk. Like the whole combine test, the 225, how many times can you lift 225?
Yeah.
Why did they pick 225? You know why?
No, I don't.
You know why? Because it's a fucking weak ass number and anybody can hit it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to have a 405 test because you'd have torn pecs and triceps.
Right.
No, I think it's really funny. I think it's something like less than 2% of people can bench 225.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to be less than 2%.
Which is part of why I wrote the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. Like there's very few people who can actually lift serious weight, and it's genetics. Variable resistance fixes those problems. I talk about that in my TED Talk.
Yeah.
So basically everybody can gain muscle like an NFL player.
Right.
Because they're completely bypassing the genetic inefficiencies of their tendon attachments that the NFL players are not limited by.
So what about this device in a health system, like a Cigna, a Kaiser?
Because we can capture the data.
Yeah.
And it's portable and it's very replicable with all kinds of different populations.
We should be selling this to clinics, right?
We're going in that direction.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to just be like the best workout device and have the coolest ads. This actually produces data that's going to change health.
Right. And that's the thing. You were looking at market segments earlier. You're like, well, we've got all these gym bros and we've got people that'll buy the devices and not use it, but say that they do. Yeah. Like at Big Five or one of these stores, they sell like,
it's fake like fitness. That's fake fitness.
That's fake fitness,
like
right?
Like little tiny stair
Put your feet on, Yeah,
people are like, oh, I'm going to get in shape. And it's like, that's not going to do anything.
Or these women, I don't know if you've seen it lately. It's like, they're in a strip mall and they're on like some sort of device that makes their feet bounce. And then they're tied to like a TRX and they're just bouncing to music. Listen, you talked about market segments. Let me reel it back in.
Yeah.
You talked about the fitness bros who have no money. You talked about the fake fitness people that have the devices that don't use it. Then you're identifying people like me and you who want a portable device that not only increases longevity and bone density, but also helps us with the vanity component, right? But I think one of the things that, and I think we just touched upon it, but it's logging information. And that information is vital. And that information then takes
Think about so sports performance studies are typically limited by budget because most people don't care.
Right.
And I mean, certainly pharmaceutical companies don't care. Federal government doesn't care.
Right.
So like they're typically self-funded, and which means, the university just gives them, just enough money to scrape by and have a 12-person control group and a 15-person trial group.
Sounds like our food pyramid in the 1970s.
Right. Well, it's like there just aren't budgets there to do like pharma level studies. However, I've got a connected device that's pretty inexpensive that is going to the broad population and is collecting all kinds of strength data. I can sort that however I want. At some point, I'll have sample sizes of hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And the publishing based on that, world changing.
Yeah.
Like it's not all these other sports performance studies. They suffer typically all the same problem, very small sample sizes. And you question, well, who was picked?
Right.
Usually people who volunteered. Who volunteered? People who are interested in strength training. Who's interested in strength training? People it's already working for.
Athletes, right.
Right. So the fact that most fitness doesn't work for, I say like 99% of the population, it might even be more than that, kind of ignored by sports performance studies. Yeah. Like the first reference in my book, it's Petrella 2000. Yeah, 2008.
This is like a peer study?
Yeah. So peer-reviewed research where they talk about how 23% of people, no matter what they do with weights, cannot stimulate muscle protein synthesis at all. 23%.
Yeah. It's just a waste of their time.
Yeah, absolutely a waste of their time. That's
Hence
why
the name
it's
of the book.
That's why it's the first reference in the book, Weightlifting is a Waste of Time. Now, there's another huge portion of the population that no matter what they do, they'll get a little bit, sort of the beginner gains. When you first start lifting, you put on maybe 10 pounds of muscle and then nothing for years after that.
Yeah.
And this is going to solve all those problems.
Well, listen, if you asked me where I think this device could be in the next 24 or 36 months, I would say what you pay attention to determines what you miss. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so many business owners are out there and they're looking at, all right, I'm going to sell this product to a demographic that matches in my head who would use this device, right? I'm going to put my coffee shop in this area because I think this. I'm going to make a pizza restaurant in this area because it's missing a pizza restaurant. I think with physical fitness, the normal, and this is the problem that Peloton and so many of these other companies get themselves into. They dig themselves their own grave. They think they're only going to sell this device to people that are interested in fitness or people who, like you said, buy a device and then end up using it to like hang their clothes on, right, in their study. For me,
you need to get people who are just not.
That are just not. And so if I was an investor in X3 Force, right, if you asked me to put in money, this is what I would push you to do. I want that device given out for free in the San Diego Unified School District. I want 20 of these devices in one campus, and I want us challenging kids to do it. I want it in clinics and in hospital groups and health groups. I want it, everywhere where you wouldn't think this device should be, that's where I want it at. And that's what I would do. And like you said, business is about trial and erring, right? And then figuring out, not putting like the round peg in a square hole or the square peg in a round hole. It's about quickly trying a number of different things, figuring out what works and what doesn't, and then doubling down on what does. But again, to come back to like my theory about business, it's what you pay attention to determines what you miss. I think for a device like this, especially for the X3 Force, the connected device that's logging data, it's like, the subscription model, the data's coming on your phone, the leaderboard, the health groups, the physicians getting behind it, the clinics, the health systems, but then getting it into the schools. I think it dovetails with the wrong, like with the upside down food pyramid. Right? Like we need to get kids early on. They're learning to use their iPads at 3, right? But they're also learning to eat chicken nuggets and French fries.
Right. And they're not learning how to do a push-up.
Right.
Ever.
No. Yeah. But I remember when we were kids, right? All three of us, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California. And there was a physical fitness test that you would do in middle school. And it was like running and sit and reach and all this, and they're logging all this data and then they're giving you an award. Maybe it was the Presidential Athletic Award or something.
So Arnold was for the first Bush administration, as in
the early 90s.
H.W. Bush.
Right.
Yeah, he 91. Was sort of the chairman of physical fitness education. Or
maybe that's what it was.
Like that.
Yeah.
And so he...
it's like the Presidential Physical Fitness
Award. Physical Fitness.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, and there was a test.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Put the X3 Force in there.
Is it gone?
Yeah.
Huh?
No more tests?
Oh, there's no more tests.
But I want the X3 inside the Oval Office, and I'm talking about this is the new product that we're going to use to...
That is where it will go.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a lot of people I have to, twist their arm to get them to do that. Yeah. But it's okay.
Where do people go to learn about it?
Oh,
plug your social.
Right.
Yeah, plug your website, plug your socials, and we can end it there.
My website is drj.com, DOCTOR, the letter J.com. There's links to all my social. I do the most on Instagram.
What's your handle?
It's Dr. Jaquish, DRJAQUISH. But there's a link on drj.com because people have trouble with my last name.
Yeah. We're good?
Yeah.
That was fun. Thank you.
Great, guys.
I appreciate it, Dr. J. We'll see you guys next time. Adios.